Hello and welcome to No Degree, No Problem, where I help high quality candidates just like you get high quality jobs without having a college degree. So if you fit that description, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell to be updated on when I post, and check the comments and the description box to make sure you sign up to get free no degree required job alerts, as well as exclusive access to a course where I teach you the exact methods that land me these amazing jobs with no degree. So speaking of, I'm actually going to give you guys a sneak peek insight into how I am able to get all kinds of high paying jobs. And I mean in multiple different industries, from insurance to sales to customer service to retail to food to just anything that you can imagine. And I have gotten paid in more ways than in all the ways that you can imagine, from hourly to salary to commission to tips and everything else in between, and been able to get jobs from my first job in middle school where I was getting a tiny stipend of just a couple $100 a week to a six-figure average a year job. No degree, and in most of these jobs, I actually had no experience in that field prior to actually being in that field of work. How am I able to do this without having a college degree? Well, there are 5 main steps that I take that ensure that I get the job. And these are the 5 steps that I'm going to share with you. So make sure you watch all the way to the end, because you don't want to miss a single one if you want that high paying job without that degree. The first step is obvious, which is to find the job, but it's not as simple as that. What you need to do is research. See, this is where you are interviewing them. You are looking at their resume. That's what job postings are. Do you know that jobs actually pay and do advertising to try and get qualified and quality candidates to their job posting? They are looking for you before you even start looking for them. So that is the entire mindset that you have to have going through your job search, is that they need you. They want you to work at their job. They are hoping that you see their job ad. And so they are overjoyed when you apply. And if you look at everything, this is the first step that makes me different from 95% of candidates who apply for the same jobs, is that I have a mindset difference that says they want me here. And if you genuinely believe that, or at least fake it till you make it, then your attitude throughout the entire job finding process will be completely different. So the top websites that I use when looking for jobs is Flexjobs, which I will have linked to below. They are a very good high quality job finding site that I don't hear a lot of people talk about often. So check out Flexjobs. ZipRecruiter is another one, and Indeed as well is probably one of the most robust ones in terms of just the sheer amount of job listings on there. So again, this is where you're looking at their resume. So they're hoping that you apply to their job. And so when you're looking at this, there are a few things that you want to pay attention to, is just mainly, do they have what you want? Does it have the hours that you want, the pay that you want? Upward mobility. Look at the reviews on Glassdoor and check employee satisfaction. And remember that it's a two-way street, that it's not just them who's checking you out, that you're checking them out. And remember, as you're applying, that you have nothing to lose. So apply to as many places as you like that meet your standards. Do not apply somewhere that you actually don't want to work. This is what we call a scarcity mindset. If you have the mindset that, oh my goodness, I have to apply this job because what if none of them just come along? And yes, I get it, especially when you are in desperate situations and you really need a job as soon as possible. I get it. Sometimes you just have to take what's there and do what you have to do. But generally, when you're looking for a job, you want to be in a comfortable position where you can take your time and pick what you want. So that way you can make sure that you don't end up at another job that you hate or that isn't paying you for what you're worth. So also make sure that you check and make sure that the job is not a scam. Look out for those typical signs. I'll later do a video talking about some of the signs that you can know that a job is not a scam. But one of the easiest things to do is to just make sure you use a reputable job finding source like Flexjobs, which will be linked in the description. The next thing is your resume, right? So then once you have decided you've looked at their resume, now it's time for you to turn in your resume to them. So one thing that you want to make sure is that you always turn in a cover letter. I was in charge of recruiting for one of the jobs that I worked at when I was a general manager there. And literally my higher up told me to not even look at a candidate if they did not have a cover letter. And the reason being is because this is just a little more effort that just shows that you actually put time in and cared enough to customize your cover letter to the job. Now, what I do is I have a basic cover letter that I have some like fill in the blank slots in, and I just kind of change those depending on what the job is. But I do customize each of my cover letters to the job that I am applying for. Make sure that I am putting specific things. If I can find the name of the recruiting or the hiring manager, then I'll put their name specifically in there, and just all those things to show that you went just a little extra mile. And, you know, let's say you see things about their company culture, about their codes and things like that. Let's say that one of their badges is like integrity, honor, and sacrifice. I really just made that up. Then, you know, you can include that in your cover letter. Like, you know, I thought that it was amazing and something that I really resonated with, that you guys believe in integrity, honor, and sacrifice, because those are principles that I live my life by. And that shows that you just took extra time to actually check out their website, to actually look into this company and decide that this is a place that you want to be a part of. Even if that's not necessarily like totally like, you're not like, I mean, I technically don't even have like a code of life, but you know, if you agree with those things and you can resonate with them, then of course be honest, but put that on your resume. And of course you want to make sure that your resume looks professional and that your cover letter looks professional as well as you're applying for the job. And if that's something that you aren't very skilled in, there are a ton of videos about that on YouTube here and other videos that you'll be able to find on my channel about that I will link somewhere either in the description or in the cards. If that's not something that you are very interested in or very good at, then you can also get them done by a professional, which I will have links to some websites that I recommend to get your resumes done at if you do not want to do it yourself or don't feel like you can make a quality professional resume. Another thing to do that a lot of people don't consider is to clean up your social media, right? Make sure you look at your social media, that you don't have anything that might turn off potential employers. Also, Google search yourself to make sure that nothing alarming comes up. If something does come up, then they have certain websites that I believe where you can try to get different things removed. I don't know how valid those are. Make sure you do your own research, but make sure you Google yourself and monitor your social media, or at least make sure it's all private so that no one can see it. But the best thing would be just make sure that you're not posting anything on social media that would be alarming to employers. The third step, this is after your interview has been scheduled. The reason why I say this is after is because I have made the mistake of doing this before, and then if you don't get a call, then this is just a ton of wasted time and energy. But after you get the interview scheduled, I always say if I can get an interview, then I can get a job. And you have to be confident in this. And the reason why I am confident in this is because of this method that I'm about to tell you right now, which is the deep research phase. Okay, so here are the things you need to study. You need to study the job. You need to know your role inside and out. Look up YouTube videos on it, people who work there, figure out exactly what you're going to be doing, right? Another thing to study is that job description. Do you know who you are now? You're whoever is in the job description. Not that you want to lie or anything like that, but you want to highlight the things that they're saying that they want in an applicant. For example, if you're going for a sales job and they're saying they want someone who is ambitious and resilient, then at the interview, it might not be the best time to bring up how patient and understanding you are. Patience and understanding are really great qualities, but if you're applying for a sales rep and they want someone ambitious and resilient, then it would be better to highlight your tenacity and how you never give up rather than those other qualities that are good but aren't necessarily making you a perfect fit for this job. You also want to study the company information. You guys, one of the jobs that I got that I'm probably the most proud of is one where I literally was able to quote their CEO to them to rebuttal one of the things. I was applying for a sales job. I had absolutely no sales experience whatsoever, and I ended up getting the interview based on a flyer. She accidentally called me. I ended up selling myself to her in the interview and to get the actual interview with the recruiters, and that's an entirely different story. If you guys want a story time about that interview, it was crazy. But he was just saying all these things and being pretty rude to me, actually. And I rebutted him by quoting the CEO. And I said, actually, it was your CEO that said. And his face was just like, who is this woman? And that is what I want you to be able to do when you get into your interviews, to be just completely prepared for whatever they may throw at you. And so going to that website, looking up the company info, the history, their products, where they're involved in the community, what causes are important to them, the things about their CEO and their founding, when they were founded, knowing their company identity, what's their slogan. I mean, you guys, if this is sounding like a lot of work, then I need you to take a step back and look at yourself, because if you are applying for the type of jobs that I hope you are, which are jobs that are paying 50, 60, 70, $100,000 a year, then if you have to do a little elbow grease to get in there and secure yourself an amazing salary for you and your family at a job that you could see yourself in for, as long as you need to be there, then this is worth it to do that. And I'm telling you, it is going to be very rare that you do all of this and they don't beg you to work at the job. Okay. Of course, there are exceptions to everything, but this stuff, I'm telling you, is nearly foolproof. So the next thing you want to do is look at their common interview questions. You can go on Indeed and Glassdoor, and they will tell you common questions if this company is especially a big company that has a ton of people that have worked there, and you can see all those reviews, and you need to prepare for those interview questions. Also, remember STAR format. That is something that a lot of companies are still using. If you don't know what that is, make sure that you look it up and think of those examples in advance. If you can, get someone to practice with you. This is the best way to make sure you ace an interview, is to practice. And do not mess around in your practice. Practice everything. Practice your body language, practice your tone and your demeanor, practice speaking with confidence, and practice, because that is how you're going to do it in the interview, however you practice. Get someone to ask you questions, ask them to grill you, ask them to critique you. It's preferable if they're a person who, does well in interviews, but if not, take what you can get, okay? Even if you have to get one of your kids to help you, make sure that you're actually practicing repeating those quotes, right? And so that's the thing. If I would have said that quote from the CEO and been fumbling over my words or not remembering it, honestly, I probably could have misquoted it and gotten away with it, because I'm sure they had no idea about any of the quotes from their CEO. But still, just in case, you always want to make sure that you have them really locked away. Practice, 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 practice. If you can't get anyone to practice with you, grab a mirror and recite all of that information so that it is just drilled into your brain. And also think of clever ways to include it in the answers to your questions, because they may not ask you, tell us about our founding CEO and the year that the company was created, but if you can find a way to include that in one of your answers by showing them that you did go the extra mile. And then that's the thing, they're going to think, you know what? If they went the extra mile and did all that for this interview, think of how much of an amazing asset they will be to our company. And that's exactly where you want their mind to be. And the other thing you want to research and remind yourself of and meditate on is your mindset. There are 3 things you need to keep in mind when it comes to your mindset and before you get into this interview. And one of them is, don't ever overestimate the other candidates. You may be thinking because you don't have a degree that all these other candidates are going to be the most qualified, having doctoral degrees and 17 years of experience. And it doesn't matter, okay? Which is that second thing, is don't let you not having a degree or not having specific experience be something that is a stumbling block to you. This is what I always say. You don't need me to have a degree. You don't need me to be able to prove to you that I can take tests and pass them, or that I can, do those things as far as, read books and be able to recite information to you, or listen to a 3-hour lecture and then get a good test grade. You need me to do this job. And I am more than capable of doing this job. And not only doing this job, but going above and beyond what is required of me, because that is what I do in every single area of my life. And there's no reason why I won't do the same thing for your company, especially when it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And you don't have to say exactly that, but if someone in an interview ever questions, the fact that I don't have a degree, even if you don't say those things, that's the mindset that you need to have, is it doesn't matter that I have a degree. It only matters that I can do the job, and I'm confident that I can do this job. And remember that you're interviewing them just as well as they are interviewing you. That as much as you may feel that you need them or you need this job, you need to have the mindset that no, you guys need me, okay? I could work anywhere, and I'm choosing to work here. So, you have to have that balance. Of course, you don't want to get into the arrogant and conceited territory, but you need to be confident in you and your abilities to actually execute and complete the job. And some of you may be thinking, well, what if I don't know? What if it's something I've never done before? How do I know that I can do it? Because that should be a character trait, right? You should have that can-do attitude, that it doesn't matter what it is, that if you are taught, if you are trained, that I am teachable, and if I can get someone to show me, then I can learn, and I will pick it up. And then once I have it, you'll just watch me go, and I promise I'll be worth every single penny that you're paying me, and you'll be begging to promote me and pay me more money. If you're enjoying it so far, please make sure you give a thumbs up and comment comment any thoughts that you have so far on, are these interview or job getting tips that you have heard before, or have you heard anything new? And you can also sign up for my email list to get more tips like this and to potentially be able to get exclusive access to my course. So make sure you sign up for that in the description. All right. Tip number 4. So this is when we get into the interview. So there is a lot of things that you need to consider. So of course, what to wear, what not to wear. I'm not going to go into details on that. We can talk about that in another video. What to bring, you need to bring your resume, multiple copies, because you never know if you're going to have a panel interview or just one, and them having to both pass your resume back and forth is just a little unprofessional. So you'd rather have more and have these things and not need them than to need them and not have them. So I normally bring 5 to 6 copies of my resume. Honestly, I normally bring a lot more than that just because I tend to drop things and be clumsy at times. And so I just feel like with my life, I would get a coffee and spill it on 4 of my resumes, and then I have like 4 more, thankfully. You also need blank paper to take notes. I'm always taking notes during my interview because, again, the same way they're taking notes on me, I'm taking notes on them. I'm taking and keeping in mind the things that they're saying, the hours they're expecting me to work, the work-life balance, the company culture, the things that they're telling me. So that way, you know, if necessary, I can come back and say, well, no, at my interview, it was told to me X, Y, and Z. And then bring your confidence, okay? Bring your confidence, bring your A game, and bring the fact that you know that stepping in this interview, that it's not a matter of if you can get the job, it's a matter of if you want to take it. And again, having that mindset difference is just game changing. So make sure you have thought about, you know, your introduction, how you want to introduce yourself, small talk, all of that matters, you know. And if you get my course, then I go more into virtual interviews, telephone interviews, and questions to ask and things like that. There is one question that I do want to tell you that you need to ask in an interview, because this will determine whether or not you should get that job. And because it is such a juicy question that I want to explain a lot more about why you need to ask it, I'm going to put that in another video. So make sure that you check out that video after this one of the one question, if you don't ask anything to your employer or possible employer, that you need to ask them in any interview. Also, during this interview, you need to negotiate your salary. I don't care if they say it's fixed. You need to at least try, because they need to know that you are an ambitious, can-do person, especially if you're going for a sales position. If you're already trying to sell yourself, and if you're already, you know, negotiating your salary, that is the good things that they look for that will tell them, okay, I need to keep my eye on this person, because they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And negotiating your salary requires a whole video of itself. But again, just make sure that's something that you look into. Also, be mindful of your body language. Your nonverbals say so much. Make sure you're sitting up straight, shoulders back, and smile. Be confident. Be happy to be there, you know? Like, there's nothing that you have to lose, again, because you have the mindset that they, if anything, have something to lose in not gaining you as an employee. Remember to never complain about your previous employer. It's like talking about an ex on a first date. Don't really want to do it. And also remember that the interview starts the second that you pull into the parking lot, and it stops when you leave it. Be careful. I have heard so many horror stories of people, you know, cutting someone off, you know, in the parking lot, and then that turning out to be the person that's interviewing them or one of the higher ups in the company. People being rude to receptionists or to service people, and then that getting back to them, and then them not getting a job just based on that. I've also heard of some pretty sneaky people who will have plants like sitting out in the lobby, and then they'll talk to them about, oh, like, why are you applying for this job? And, you know, getting the information on them, and they're actually working for the company. And literally my boss at a previous job, I used to sit at the front desk, and he used to literally come late to interviews intentionally. And because I was very chatty, so he would get me to talk to them and just figure out their intentions. And there were so many people who, no matter how well they interviewed, would never get the job because I told my boss the truth, you know, that they were saying that, oh, you know, I'm just here to get a paycheck. You know, I really don't even care about this job. And it's amazing the things that people will say. Don't be one of those people, okay? And number 5, the 5th thing that you have to make sure you're doing is your thank you. This is something that so many people don't do, unfortunately. Not even just in interviews, but in normal life, like after weddings and bridal showers and, you know, Christmas gifts or anything, people don't send out thank you cards anymore. And it is something that is just so thoughtful and sweet, and that will definitely make you stand apart, especially if you are competing against a ton of other people for the same job. You sending a thank you letter in the mail, a paper note or a mailed letter, or a video note, if not that, but just something that's personal that that, you know, make sure you write down their name so you remember the person who interviewed you, so you can say their name. Just thank you so much, Janice, for taking the time to interview with me. You know, hopefully I'll be seeing a lot more of you soon as I become a part of the company. You know, just something like that. Make sure you send a nice thank you video or a paper note or a mailed letter. All of those things are very thoughtful. And then just following up, be persistent, but not annoying. You don't want to blow these people's phones up and then they think that you're going to be a terrible person to work with. You want to be somebody who they would be excited and enjoy having on their team. And lastly, do not put your hope or your self-worth into a job. Your value is not based on the jobs that you can or cannot get. Whatever job you get, you know, be gracious, be thankful. For me, I'm a Christian, so I'm always thanking God that, you know, it was his sovereignty in the end of the day that landed me this job and not anything that I did or didn't do particularly. But of course, we do have responsibility and we make choices. And so I want to give you the best tips for success to do everything that you can to make sure that you land that dream job of yours. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you want more content, and comment below. What are your best interview tips, or what is your biggest interview fail or job getting fail that you know cost you a job? I would love to hear about it. Make sure you go watch that video so that you know the one question that you have to ask in any interview. See you in that next one. Bye.